Hi, I'm John Miller, and I'm a product manager on the Teams Toolkit development team. I'm excited today to show you how Teams Toolkit can accelerate your app development. Okay, let's get started. Before we talk about accelerating your app development and your time to market, let's discuss a little bit about that market and the opportunity. We're hearing from many businesses at varying stages of digital transformation that they want to bring more of their everyday tasks, processes, and workflows directly into Teams. We think about Teams in terms of these four main pillars: real-time chat, meetings, which include voice and video, and collaboration with the suite of Office apps, and the integration of business process workflows, which is the focus of what I'll be discussing today. As customers spend more time on Teams, integrating apps and services into the Teams hub is becoming more important to improving productivity. This allows customers to engage with external apps and services that they use all the time directly within Teams without context switching. For partners, this allows them to go where customers are and brings with it a huge untapped audience to potentially target. Teams was created because the way that companies, teams, and individuals collaborate and work together is fundamentally different than the way it was before. Teams are transforming to being more diverse and distributed, which changes the way they collaborate and work together. And as a result, how they work and operate fundamentally changes. People are always on, working in different locations, time zones, and business hours. My team alone works across 3 or 4 different time zones. Collaboration is seen critical to enterprise success, and so it can't afford for anyone to be working siloed or working apart from each other. This is where Teams, and specifically the Teams developer platform, can help with the digital transformation in the workplace and collaboration. It can help your business understanding how customers work, who they engage with, how they engage, and the challenges they have today to come up with the right integrated solutions for teams. What I'm sharing with you today will hopefully give you a clear starting point to begin building for Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams Framework, or TeamsFx for short, is a suite of tools and libraries that make it simpler to create, build, and deliver apps for Microsoft Teams. The primary parts of the framework, tools and libraries, are provided as SDKs, a CLI, and an IDE extension. The CLI can scaffold new apps using our JavaScript and TypeScript project templates for Teams, and you end up with a React app that includes some sample code, a Teams app manifest, and any of the Teams extensibility services that you choose. The CLI also includes features for creating and managing cloud resources that host your Teams app features. We've built an extension for Visual Studio Code, Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, to make it even easier to take advantage of the TeamsFx features and get started. The VS Code extension is designed to work with the TypeScript and JavaScript projects. And then for .NET developers, we're focusing on our extension in Visual Studio 2022, Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio, to provide support and tooling for using Blazor and ASP.NET Core for Teams app development. Let's take a look at Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code first and see what you can do with it. First, it's simple to get started with Teams app development. The toolkit offers a variety of templates to jumpstart any type of solution. For example, one of the common things we hear from developers is wanting to bring some data or events from their workflows and processes and display it in chat. Imagine an approval process for an existing app in your enterprise, and during that process, you'd like to notify a user that they need to act on that process. For many businesses, that pipeline already exists and it's already established, but a new collaborative experience might be needed to display, notify, and act on it within Teams. We think that's a great place to start and begin Teams app development. We also make it simpler to get started by automatically configuring the app across all the portals. This saves you time with what sometimes would otherwise be very tedious configuration. You combine that with an M365 developer program account and an instant tenant, and you'll have all the permissions you need to start debugging and running your app. After you've used Teams Toolkit to scaffold your project and signed in with an M365 account for a tenant where you can develop, all you have to do is select F5 or use the debug tab to start debugging right from VS Code. Once the app is running in Teams, you're ready to make edits, watch them live reload within Teams, and build your app. Of course, you can always customize any of the Teams app manifest values, change display names, settings, and more. The toolkit has a feature to validate that manifest change to make sure that you catch those errors early on before you publish. Teams apps and their capabilities or extension services are all hosted experiences, so the toolkit helps you by generating ARM templates to make it simpler to integrate them with existing CI/CD workflows. The toolkit also has features to create different environments to provision and deploy these cloud resources in. So you can create things like dev, test, prod, and manage them all right from inside VS Code. Finally, the toolkit makes it simple to upload and publish the manifest to your team's organization. Let's jump over to a demo and I'll show you what it looks like in Teams Toolkit for VS Code.
All right, here we are inside of Visual Studio Code and I already have Teams Toolkit installed. So I'm ready to create a new Teams app. So I'll go ahead and select that. And I'm going to choose the notification bot here because I really want to build something like what we talked about earlier, where I have some process or workflow and some type of event or data that I want to bring into Teams, into a chat, and let someone know about it. Hey, you have something actionable here to do. So that's what the notification bot helps me build. So I'll go ahead and select that. I have 3 options on how I want to bring that data in using an HTTP trigger or a timer trigger. And depending on how I want to do HTTP triggers, I can choose Restify or an Azure function. I think for this, I'm going to do a timer. And I'll choose TypeScript. And I'll name my application and press enter. All right, our project has finished scaffolding and we have our bot ready to go. There's a README file that's opened to show you a little bit more about what was just created and walks you through the project structure and what each file and folder does. In the bot folder, we have a timer trigger file. Here is where the Azure function sends the adaptive card to Teams. The adaptive card, the format of that is defined here. And we provide a nice little code lens to preview and debug the adaptive card using this extension for adaptive cards. So I already have that installed. So I'll go ahead and just click on my template. And you can see on the right-hand side, I have a visualization of what I've represented in JSON here. If I go back to Teams Toolkit and I'll close these. Back in the Teams Toolkit tab, there's a couple different features we can take a look at. The first one is how we handle our identity for creating these apps. I've already signed in with my M365 developer program account. And what this allows me to do is easily sideload my app into that tenant. You can see Teams Toolkit has already kind of checked if I have sideloading enabled and give me a green check mark there. So that way I know that I'm ready to go and press F5. We have a way to create different environments for if you want to provision different resources from different places. I'm just going to use localhost for now, so the local environment's fine. And I'm not signed into my Azure account right now. So what we've done so far is we've created a new app. I selected notification bot and I chose a timer trigger. I took a brief look at the code that's generated. And right now the app is not actually created in Teams. So to do that, we can just press F5 or I can go to the debug tab and click start debugging. Now Teams Toolkit will go through a couple different checks to make sure our environment is set up correctly. It will install any necessary prerequisites we need to run and debug our app. And we'll just wait for it to launch inside the browser. All right, our app has launched. I'll go ahead and add it to Teams. Cool, here's our notification that came in from our locally running Azure function and Teams app. And it's displaying our adaptive card using the sample content provided in the template. All right, back in Teams Toolkit, let's add a tab feature to our app. So I'll go ahead and click the add features and I can choose a capability here. And I'm going to choose an SSO enabled launch page. This will scaffold out a website for me using Create React App. Here I have a new tabs folder and we can take a look at what's in here. So here's my tab, and it includes the use of one single function called welcome. And all the sample components are inside of this sample folder, and they show some different things on how you can use TeamsFx libraries and SDKs. So let's go ahead and run this to see what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and press F5. Okay, now we're running our app back in the browser and we still have our bot tab, but now we also have this personal tab, which is a personal app. And here's our sample web content that's scaffolded for us by Teams Toolkit running. I put these two things side by side, here you can see my bot notification still coming in. If I put these two things side by side, we can see exactly how easy it is to edit some code and see it refresh here on the left right away. That makes it really nice to be able to kind of change your UI and see what's happening without having to refresh the page or keep redeploying to Teams each time. And Teams Toolkit has that all set up for you, ready to go. Back in Visual Studio Code, we can see what else the Toolkit has done for us. Here are some bicep files that are the templates for the cloud resources that need to be provisioned. So what we can do is go to the Teams Toolkit tab and we can click on Provision in the Cloud. Of course, that's going to ask me to sign in with Azure, so I'll go ahead and do that. Now that I've signed in, Teams Toolkit is going to help me create a resource group for this. And I'll choose my location. And yes, I do. Now Teams Toolkit will go ahead and provision those resources in Azure for me, but it's not deployed anything to those cloud resources yet. Once it's complete, then we'll be able to use the deploy feature to do that. All right, our resources are done provisioning. So now to make it very easy, we just click the deploy button and we'll deploy both the front end website for the tab and also the bot. Yes, I'll go ahead and deploy and I'll wait for that to complete. Now that a deploy is completed, you can see my environment up here for dev has my resource group in it and my subscription. And if I want to go ahead and preview that running, I can just click this preview app button. And here's our app running in the browser. I'll go ahead and add it. And here's our app running in our Azure environment. Cool. Now that we've seen everything running locally and how to provision and deploy resources in Azure and run it in Azure and preview it, next thing we can do is publish to our organization. So I'll go ahead and use Teams Toolkit to do that. Install for the organization. Now that it's been successfully published, I can go ahead and view it in the admin portal. And since this is my tenant, I'll be able to view that. Normally we go to approval for your admins or whoever is an admin for your tenant. So here in the admin portal, we can see here's the app I just created and it's currently blocked because that's the default policy that I have set for this tenant. I can go here and click on this and approve it or reject it. And this is the process that your admins would go through.
Okay, that was a brief look at Teams Toolkit and VS Code and how we're able to quickly get started, build a bot, a tab, deploy it to Azure, and finally publish it to my test tenant. If you're ready to try it for yourself, I'm happy to announce that Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code and the CLI are now generally available. Let's talk about .NET for a little bit. And if you're a .NET developer or maybe you love C# and want to get in on this Teams action, then Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio is available as a preview in VS 2022. What we're doing here is trying to build an extension that makes it delightful for Visual Studio and .NET developers to build Teams apps using the frameworks that they know and love. Today, the Toolkit in VS offers a project template that scaffolds a Blazor server application with a few extra doodads to make it simpler to build, run, and debug a Teams app. You get features that help with the same automatic configuration across portals, and when that's done, you can press F5 to start debugging. And since the template is a Blazor app, that means you can really do all the things you're familiar with in Blazor development. For example, with .NET 6 and hot reload, edits to Blazor components will live refresh right inside the browser. No need to rebuild or refresh anything or to see the changes. The VS extension also includes features for provisioning and deploying the cloud resources defined by the ARM templates to Azure. I really want to show you what I'm talking about, so let's jump into Visual Studio 2022.
Here we are in Visual Studio 2022. I'm going to start a new project. The Teams Toolkit ships a template for you to use, the Microsoft Teams app template. So I'll go ahead and select that and I'll leave the defaults here. It's fine. Right now we offer two capabilities that you can extend with your Teams apps. You can extend with a tab or a bot. I'm going to choose both and create my project. Awesome, our solution has finished loading. While we're in preview, we need to go ahead and start a networking tunnel so that way we can debug our bot application. So I'll go ahead and do that off to the side. The next thing that we need to do while we're in preview is use a menu command in the project, Teams Toolkit, and click on Configure Microsoft Teams App. This triggers all the TeamsFx automatic configuration processes. So this will go ahead and register our Azure AD app. It'll create our Teams app in the Teams developer portal. Now that's finished configuring, we can go ahead and start debugging. So I'll go ahead and click that and wait for the browser to load. Here's our app running in the browser. I'll go ahead and click Add. Here's our bot running. So I'll go ahead and send a message to our bot. And the bot responds with a simple echo, letting us know that it's working. And here's our tab application that we scaffolded. Very similar to what we saw in VS Code. Only here it's not a React app, it's a Blazor app. So let's take a look at what we have. With things side by side here, I think it'll make it a little easier to show what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button we have here as part of the demo. That's going to ask me for some delegated permissions to read my profile data. So that way I can get some more information about the user that's signed in, which happens to be me. So I'll go ahead and do that. And here we can see we hit our breakpoint. So we can debug our application just as we would expect. So I'll go ahead and continue running that. And you can see this completed. It got a little more information about me, my name, my email address. And if I had a picture, it would show my picture as well. We can make some code edits, save the file, and hot reload will refresh the page for us. And there we go. There's our code edits live. No need to run the app again or refresh the page or anything like that. So that makes editing this Blazor app really nice inside of Teams. What we have scaffolded here is a Blazor server application. There are some components here that mirror what we saw in VS Code. They're all Blazor Razor components. We have a bot controller for our bot, and there's a little bit of middleware registered here. So let's go full screen here and stop our application. In the Teams Toolkit menu, we can also provision those resources like we did in VS Code. So it's going to ask me for my Azure account here, and I can choose my subscription. I'll go ahead and create a new resource group for this, and I'll choose my location again and click provision. So now TeamsFx will go ahead and provision those resources. All right, Teams Toolkit has finished provisioning those resources. So now we can go ahead and deploy them. So I'll use the menu command to do that and wait for that to finish. Okay, deployment has finished. So to preview this, I can use this menu command right now. Here we are running in the browser again. I'll add my app to Teams. Switch over to the tab. Should see an indication that we're running in our Azure environment now. And here we are. Great, and our bot is still working. Let's just send it a message just to make sure. Great. So everything's working now in our remote environment as well.
Okay, that was a look at Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio. And like I mentioned, it's available as a preview in VS 2022. So we talked about a lot. We've looked at Teams Toolkit in VS Code and VS and what's available today. And here at Build, I'm also sharing with you what the road ahead looks like for Teams Toolkit. Coming soon to Teams Toolkit is an integrated tunneling solution that will make it even simpler for your enterprise to run and debug M365 apps that are hosted in an external environment like a bot. We're also adding the ability to run and debug on mobile clients, and we're starting with Teams and Outlook first. We also know that many enterprises don't allow apps to be sideloaded in their tenants by default, which makes it really difficult to run and debug an app. So today you can already use M365 Developer Program to create a free account and get your own test tenant to work in, and we'll make it even easier to create an access tab from the toolkit soon. We looked at one scenario with creating a notification style app, which leveraged a bot. We're continuing to build more of those types of scenario-based app templates for additional scenarios that will help you bootstrap any app for M365. We have more planned to help you and make Teams Toolkit the best developer experience for building apps across M365. Okay, that's what I have for you today. And if you stuck around this long, you're probably at least a little bit excited to get started. So here are the resources you need to do that. Visit the URL and go directly to GitHub to visit our TeamsFx repo. And from there, you'll find links to everything related to the CLI, SDK, Toolkit, docs, and samples. Thank you.